Father Jim Daprile, a longtime pastor here in the Youngstown Diocese, artist and professor as well. I brought his attention to one of the pieces of artwork here on our set, and I wanted him to describe some of the elements. So what are we looking at right now?
Yeah. Dennis, this is a classic Byzantine icon, Eastern Church icon of Mary of Tenderness with Jesus. The icon identifies itself. In the corners is Marios, which is Mary. And then Ictus over here is identifying Christ. So the persons are identified. Within iconography, there is stated forms of how the artist is to proceed. So the colors, red indicates her humanity, blue indicates the divinity. So she's taken on through her conception and birth, the holiness of her son, Jesus. The halos also indicate, their divine nature. Jesus's halo is a little different because ordinarily in these three tangents, which are representative of a cross, usually it's the Hebrew word hos. And here it's translated into English. Hos is a Hebrew word, the holy name that God gave to Moses, and that's used in John's Gospel, I am. So this I am here is saying he's the divine one. He's also holding a scroll, which is indicative of his teaching, his power, his authority. His right hand is in blessing to his mother, and then there's an affection between the two. What's interesting about icons is, the eyes. The eyes are penetrating. Mary is looking at those who are gazing upon it, drawing her into this experience of tenderness. As she has loved her son, she invites us to enter into that same encounter, that same relationship, one who will bless us and teach us and lead us. Sometimes this icon is also represented with angels on the two corners as well, and that becomes the icon of Our Lady of Perpetual Help, because the angels, Michael and Gabriel, are holding instruments of Jesus' death, a sponge and a sword. So it's a reminder of the crucifixion. So, and what's reminiscent of that is Jesus' foot here. His sandal is falling off. And so, but nonetheless, even in this styled form of a Byzantine icon, Mary is holding her son despite losing his shoe.
Now, Father, you also brought a piece of your own personal artwork. What would you say your style is and what you have in front of us today?
I would describe myself as an abstract gesturalist. At least that's what one of my teachers said. I kind of work with forms and images, suggestive projects. This piece here that I'm holding called The River Runs Through. And it was taken from Ezekiel, the temple, the waters of the temple that flow in many different directions, and from the book of Revelation, again, the heavenly Jerusalem. And so there's a design of entering into, of movement beyond, kind of an explosion from the center. And I was using gold leaf, acrylics, and just a variety of other colors. I don't know whether in a close-up you might be able to see that or not. But again, I wanted to suggest a sense of transcendence, a sense of beauty. I also use this as a basis for another piece that I did for Our Lady of Perpetual Help Church in Aurora for Advent that I called Hope. The same thing, that the spirit of God's love is like a mighty stream, and it keeps running through us, and we just have to make sure that we're close enough to be watered and cared for with that.
You've done a lot of work from your former parish. It seems every season you had something there. Tell me what the thought is behind that.
Well, one of the wonderful things about Our Lady of Perpetual Help Church in Aurora is that it was a beautiful natural environment. Actually, it's the only building in the diocese that had received an architectural award for its design. I think that's often overlooked. But it opened itself to the beauty of the people and the elements there, and allowed for our contemporary expressions of faith and life and time to be there. So I've done pieces, fabric work with for the ordinary time of the year, for the colors that would highlight where the action of the word is proclaimed, where we would gather around the altar, and then to the cross, where the Paschal mystery, is reminded of in that form of the Christ crucified on the cross. I've done a piece like this, as I said, called Hope for Advent, that was a little bit bigger than this, paired with a green wreath. I think that's what Advent is longing for, that Christ is already present in our midst, but we hope and pray that it will be alive in our hearts and our lives and what we do as well. So, the census, and then people, they looked at me and said, well, what is that up there? It's, it's like, I don't understand it. Well, I think art is something that invites contemplation, it invites reflection. I work at the Cleveland Museum of Art, and one of the ironies is that most people spend an average of 14 seconds looking at a piece of art, and most of the time they're reading the little placard, the little sign on the side.
Not enough.
They only spend a couple of moments looking at the art. They would rather know intellectually what it's about rather than what the artist is really trying to convey. That's somebody's interpretation already, the description. And so, I invite people to, that's why I like abstract work, because it causes you maybe to slow down a little bit, to be attentive, and that saying that there might be something bigger than who we are. Gold leaf is always an element that kind of heightens our sensibilities. It calls us to a deeper appreciation of life.
How important is it to you to continue to challenge yourself, on a daily basis to keep creating?
Absolutely. I feel alive when I paint. I feel the spirit moving within me. There is a sense of fulfillment. And I have really relished it being retired, having the time to do so, because these have all been kind of like side jobs when I was in full-time ministry. Now I can be devoted to it. And when I was in other parishes, I would paint in the laundry rooms, small little. So now I've got an easel and paints and stuff like that, so I don't have to tear down every time or set up every time I want to work. So it's there, it's inspiring, and as I said, it makes me Jim Daprile.
Well, thank you so much. It's great to meet you, and I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Dennis.